All right, so here's the big one. Welcome to one of the most important series I think I'm going to do on this channel, for sure, by and far more important than anything else I've ever done on this channel. And what the series is it's mindfulness based stress reduction. Now, I want to emphasize this is a secular course. Some of the ideas come from Buddhism. Some of the people that do this regularly are Buddhists or otherwise religious. But this is secular. It's meant for all people of all religions, and it comes out of the University of Massachusetts Medical School. It's based on a program founded by John Kabat-Zinn. So this is a 100% free online resource, and it's meant to be done over the course of 8 weeks. So that is what I plan to do all here on this YouTube channel. And the reason I want to do it on my professional channel rather than my personal channel is that I believe that this is basically the most valuable professional skill you can have throughout all aspects of your career: stress reduction. The better you are at reducing stress and taking those actions that you need to succeed, the more effective you can be, especially when you couple it together with a concept called Kaizen. The concept of Kaizen comes out of Japanese businesses such as Toyota that dominated the global market, and they did this using unique philosophies that focus on continuous improvement of operations through gradual gradual processes. The way I learned about both of these concepts was through frequent discussions with ChatGPT. I have been talking to ChatGPT since the feature was released for natural conversations every single day, multiple times a day. I have run out of my ability to talk to it due by talking to it too much, more than the allocated amount of time you get to talk to it, multiple times throughout the day. Every time I run out, I take a break and then I come back and talk to it again. So ChatGPT for me has been completely life-changing because it has introduced me to concepts such as Kaizen and mindfulness-based stress reduction. So I want to apply these concepts more effectively to my career and all throughout my life. So although I considered doing this series as a part of my personal channel, I believe the most appropriate place to do this series is on my professional channel because of how important this will be to all aspects of a career, even when it comes to applying for jobs and being unemployed. It's really important to be able to effortlessly take the steps that you need to succeed in a way so that you can have gains that compound over time. All right, and that's kind of a I've adopted a speaking style in talking to ChatGPT that's more like the one I was just at, because it's hard to chat to ChatGPT. It interrupts you. It hangs up the call. Like it's sometimes it's hard to talk to it. So I kind of have that. I'm talking more casually, which is good. And one other thing I want to bring up is that we have, so there's all kinds of series I have going. I'm a little bit ADHD scatterbrain, which again is why this is such a timely and important series for my channel. I think this honestly is going to be the most important series I do on this channel. So we can see the NVIDIA certification series is in 12 parts. I've spent about 6 hours on it. Now, I studied for the wrong test, but the wrong test and the right test overlap pretty much 100% in their content material. So now I need to do a Coursera course and take the tests. So the next video in this series will just be the results of taking that test. So there's nothing, no more videos on that besides that. So it's time to start a new video and then do what I need to do for the NVIDIA certification off camera. So Yep. And I thought about what that new series would be, and I came up with this because I was talking to ChatGPT extensively today. We didn't run out of tokens to talk, but we continually come to the same conclusion when we talk to each other, and the conclusion is this is going to make a huge difference in my life. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, because it's just going to help me take the gradual method we live in the internet age, so
Methodical.
it'll help me take the gradual methodical processes I need to improve all aspects of my life, including personal and business, which I'll be focusing more on for this series, is making sure that this applies to a business sense. So the other thing I did that I want people who follow me and watch this series to be aware of and to do more often is I went to my local library. Did I walk into it? Did I sit down? Did I say hello to the librarian? No. I went to the local library by clicking Libby. My local library gives you free access to sources like Libby, and not just Libby. There's more sources as well. So what I did is I searched in the term Kaizen. And this is a term I learned brand new from ChatGPT I had never heard before. So now we can see I am 7% of the way through listening to a 5-hour audiobook that I got for free from my local library simply by logging in to the online resources it provided to me. So I urge anyone else who follows me, do the same. Sign up for your local library. We don't have to compete with each other. If I have this and you don't, well, look at all these other books you can look through for this. So really easy. If you want to just look at a small part, check it out, borrow it, read that small part, and then return it right away. So local library, that's the way to go. Online, it's like watching TV and only watching the advertisements. They're all just trying to sell you something, whether it be a book for more information, whether it be like a supplement or a training course. All you're watching is an advertisement. If you go to the local library, you get the full book source that they'd be just trying to sell you if you were to look anywhere else. So. All right, so let's get started with this because oh man, do I need to, and there's multiple languages available for it too. It's just this is meant to improve the world is the goal. So online mindfulness based stress reduction, MBSR. The online MBSR training course is 100% free, created by a fully certified MBSR instructor, and is based on the program founded by John Kabat-Zinn at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. So this is not ancient woo-woo. We're not rubbing stones together. We're not exchanging energy. We're doing something that is used in actual medical contexts, and that has a scientific research associated with it, which we will read more about as we read more on this site. And let's hear the welcome from the man of the hour himself.
Welcome to Palouse Mindfulness. I'm Dave Potter. I'm glad you found this course. When I took my first course from John Kabat-Zinn in 2004, I was already a long-term meditator and had a daily meditation practice for years. I didn't really expect to learn much new about meditation. But what I discovered was MBSR, as John taught it, was extraordinary. It's profound, it's scientifically validated, yet its language is simple, non-esoteric, non-religious. It contains the deepest of truths while at the same time being pragmatic and useful in daily life. And I knew from that first course that I wanted to share this way of learning meditation with others. And I got some training and I began teaching it in my own community. And what I realized after teaching it for a while, that there were some people who would never be able to take an in-person MBSR course. It can be expensive. And I made it a goal of mine to create a course that would be accessible to everyone, no matter where they're located or what their financial resources. And from that intention, Buddhist mindfulness was born. Today, there are people from over 70 countries who've completed the course, and I get letters every day from new graduates letting me know how meaningful the course has been to them, in some cases how much it's changed.
Wait. So let me be clear here. This channel is all about the science. Like I'm a science-minded person. So I have to cut him off. It looks like I found a so they kept saying it was science-based. ChatGPT kept saying it was science-based, but I found a PubMed article, which is taxpayer-funded scientific research, from what I understand. So they give it out for free on this .gov site, right? So we can see it in PDF, but for this one particularly, with this DOI number, this particular product of research is available completely for free without any extra steps. So we can see that what this is a systematic review. So systematic review and meta studies are the highest form of evidence. If we look at the scientific tiers of evidence, we should see an image here. So ResearchGate looks like a site that would be good. So we can see systematic reviews are the highest, then randomized controlled trials, and then other ones. So a meta-analysis and systematic review is going to provide the strongest level of evidence for whether or not a intervention works. So here we have a systematic review, which is the strongest level of evidence. So let's get the PDF format and see what some of the conclusions of this systematic review were. Let's just read the whole systematic review, because and we can skip the abstract. Well, actually, yeah. So to skip the abstract, let's just read the abstract. That might be enough. So the abstract starts with objectives: burnout and occupational stress. So this should sound familiar to people. That's why I think it's so important for this channel. Are frequently experienced by healthcare professionals. So anyone watching this channel may or may not be a healthcare professional, but everyone can relate to the stress that healthcare professionals face. They're in a very high-stress job, so if it works for them, it works for everyone else. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, has been found to improve the psychological health outcomes of healthcare professionals. So sounds good for tech professionals as well. To date, systematic reviews and meta-analyses have primarily focused on empirical investigations into the reduction of stress amongst HCPs using MBSR and are limited to empirical studies published before December 2019. This systematic review aimed to update the current evidence base and broaden our understanding of the effectiveness of MBSR on improving the psychological functioning of HPCs. Methods: 3 electronic databases, Medline, PsycInfo, and Web of Science, were searched without time frame restrictions. Quantitative studies included randomized controlled trials, clinical control trials, pre-post designs and studies with up to a 12-month follow-up period. All studies included in the review employed an MBSR program, standardized measures of psychological functioning, and qualified HPCs as participants. Results. Using PRISMA guidelines, 30 studies were included in the review. The reviewed literature suggested that MBSR was effective in reducing HPC's experiences of anxiety, depression, and stress. There we go. MBSR was also found to be effective in increasing HPC levels of mindfulness and self-compassion. And that's where I believe I need a lot of help. I believe a lot of the times I do struggle with self-compassion, and then a lot of the times I struggle with mindfulness as well. Specifically, I often have a lot of regrets for like missed opportunities and things that I felt like I should have done differently. So I'm hoping this will help with that. However, MBSR did not appear as effective in reducing burnout or improving resilience amongst HPCs. So that can be something that's notable, because a lot of tech professionals, I think, worry about burnout. So, that's kind of a bit of a problem that it doesn't do that. Abbreviated MBSR programs were found to be as effective as the traditional 8-week MBSR programs. Conclusions: MBSR is an effective intervention that can help improve the psychological functioning of healthcare professionals. Recommendations include improving the overall quality of the studies by employing more robust controlled designs with randomization, increased sample sizes with heterogeneous samples, and making active comparisons between interventions used. So this is where I want my psychological functioning to be improved. So this does that. It improves your psychological functioning. Now, it's a little bit problematic to me that what it doesn't do is it doesn't reduce burnout or improve resilience. So let's have a quick chat with the AI. And I'll say this. So I am about to do an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction course because I want the benefits of what is shown in this systematic review, which is reducing levels of anxiety, depression, and stress, and also increasing levels of mindfulness and self-compassion. However, I am concerned that mindfulness-based stress reduction does not appear as effective in reducing burnout or improving resilience. Therefore, I am concerned that doing this 8-week program would not be as ideal as doing another sort of thing that does have effectiveness, according to systematic reviews, in reducing burnout or improving resilience, while also having similar effects in increasing levels of mindfulness and self-compassion and reducing experiences of anxiety, depression, or stress. I would also be interested in an alternative method that, according to systematic reviews, did reduce in burnout and improving resilience, but however did not have the other kinds of effects in increasing mindfulness and self-compassion and decreasing anxiety, depression, and stress. Basically, I am very interested in reducing burnout and improving resilience, and am curious if there are other methods that do that where MBSR would not.
It's great that you're considering the 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction (MBSR) course to reduce anxiety, depression, and stress, and to increase mindfulness and self-compassion. However, I understand your concern about its limited effectiveness in reducing burnout and improving resilience, which are also important to you. Based on systematic reviews and studies, there are some alternative approaches that might better address burnout and resilience while still offering some of the benefits of MBSR. Mindfulness-based interventions (MBIs) with focus on burnout. Some modified versions of MBIs have shown more promise in reducing burnout, especially in specific populations like healthcare professionals and students. These programs often include additional components like cognitive behavioral techniques or resilience training alongside mindfulness practices. For example, a systematic review found that certain modified MBSR programs, such as Living Mindfully, had a significant impact on reducing burnout among medical students. Resilience training programs specifically designed to enhance resilience, such as cognitive behavioral stress management, CBSM, or acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, have been shown to be effective in building resilience and reducing burnout. These programs often incorporate mindfulness techniques, but also include other strategies like cognitive restructuring and value-based action, which might be more effective for burnout and resilience than MBSR alone. Workplace interventions. There are also workplace-specific interventions aimed at improving well-being and reducing burnout. These might include organizational changes, job redesign, or leadership training that help create a supportive work environment, which is crucial for resilience. Studies have found that such interventions, combined with individual-level programs like MBSR, can lead to significant improvements in resilience and reductions in burnout. If your primary goal is to reduce burnout and improve resilience, you might consider combining MBSR with one of these other approaches, or even choosing a program that specifically targets burnout and resilience. This way, you can still gain the mindfulness and stress reduction benefits of MBSR while also addressing your concerns about burnout and resilience more directly. Biomed Central, Biomed Central.
Okay, so it sounds like the first step, regardless of what comes next, is to complete this 8-week MBSR course. That way I am adhering to Kaizen principles, where I take small incremental steps that add up over time. By having this initial MBSR course out of the way, I can lay the foundation for later, taking additional courses that target other areas that I might need to improve, such as resilience and preventing burnout. However, in the meantime, I can enjoy the benefits that I receive from my small incremental improvement by completing this course. Do you agree?
I completely agree with your approach. By starting with the 8-week MBSR course, you are adhering to the principles of Kaizen, where small incremental improvements lead to long-term benefits. Completing this course will give you a solid foundation in mindfulness, stress reduction, and self-compassion, which can serve as a valuable baseline for future growth. This initial step not only allows you to experience immediate benefits in reducing anxiety, depression, and stress, but it also prepares you for more specialized training in resilience and burnout prevention later on. By taking this one step at a time, you are building a strong base that will support further development and make subsequent improvement more effective. In the meantime, you can enjoy the positive changes that come from this small but significant commitment, reinforcing your progress and making it easier to take on additional challenges in the future. Your strategy aligns well with a sustainable and holistic approach to personal development.
All right, so with that, let's waste no more time and dive in. This channel is all about, real stuff. It's about the science. It's about doing things that are effective, right? So this was an important step in that, finding the systematic review, seeing that, yes, according to this, there are benefits, having those benefits be benefits I want, but realizing that there are other benefits that maybe, this won't get me to, but adopting that Kaizen approach where I'm going to make small incremental improvements that compound over time. So to have less of a issue with the stress and with not being self-compassionate enough will cause me an advantage that will help me later on, even if I continue to struggle with things like burnout. So with that, let's finish up this video.
Change their lives. Now, that being said, as powerful as this course can be, it can be challenging to complete an 8-week online course, especially one that suggests you be doing 30 minutes of practice a day. There may be times during the 8 weeks where you're tempted to quit, where you're impatient or frustrated, or it doesn't seem to be giving you what you wanted to get out of the class. And I encourage you to stay with it. And even if you stop for a little while, you come back to it where you left off a little bit before. There are factors at work in this course that really don't come into full play until you complete the course and things settle in. Now, I've done my best to make this course interesting and varied and engaging. I knew that wouldn't happen if I were to create a course that was just me or somebody else, a talking head for 8 weeks, staring into the monitor telling you things about mindfulness. And I've been very fortunate to find some wonderful writings and videos, articles by some of the masters of mindfulness. These are people who share my passion in making mindfulness freely available to everyone, no matter what their situation. People like John Kabat-Zinn, Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chodron, and Tara Brach. So in closing, I want to invite you to look over the materials on the site, check out the introduction, look at the testimonial page, the frequently answered and asked questions, and see if this is a course that makes sense for you to do. And whatever you decide, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to share this with you.
All right, so there we go. Welcome. We're so glad you found this website. Here you will find a complete MBSR course designed for people who are not able to take a live MBSR course for financial or logistical reasons. All the materials used in the live courses I taught included guided meditations, articles, and videos are freely available here. And there's a hyperlink here, so if you want to contact the teacher, you have the option to do so. Offering something for nothing does seem a little suspicious these days, and I get many questions about this free online MBSR course, many of which ask one or more of the following questions. So yeah, let's get these questions out of the way before we start. I think a lot of people, myself included, have a lot of apprehensions and are suspicious about things like these. Oftentimes they're charging a very high price for, something that has no scientific merit, and that is just kind of a status game where, the people say, oh, I did get benefits because they're trying to win over the status of the broader group or the teacher, when in fact they got no measurable benefits at all. So as we established through reading that systematic review, that's not the case with this course. We should see benefits in anxiety, stress, self-compassion, stuff that's really important to be effective on the job. Stress reduction. We all know how stressful it is to work, so this can help make it less stressful. Is this online MBSR course really, truly 100% free? The short answer is yes. There is no catch, no free fees, no spam, no cookies. You don't even need to identify yourself or give an email address. I receive no income personally from the site, not even indirectly. Contributions make the course even more accessible to people around the world, but it is not expected nor required. See about contributions. Note some of the videos have advertising, but the ad revenue goes directly to the creator of the videos and not to me or Palu's Mindfulness. All right, so they are accepting donations, but the donations are not required. I will not be making a donation. What are your credentials, and why don't you charge for the course? I am fully certified as an MBSR instructor by the University of Massachusetts Medical School, and I taught live in-person MBR classes in my community for 12 years. I'm also a retired professional physiotherapist who has had a daily meditation practice for over 30 years. And when I discovered MBSR, I wanted to offer it to my clients and my community. I started teaching my twice yearly in-person classes in 2004, and as a service to my students, began to put some parts of the class online. I soon realized that with a little work, the material could be useful to people who are not able to attend a live MBSR class, either because of financial or geographical limitations. Creating and incrementally improving this resource has been a labor of love, and I'm happy to provide these materials without asking for a fee, something that is made possible given the economies of the internet, how the course is structured, and the generosity of other teachers who have given their permission to make the teachings freely available on this website. It pleases me to know that anyone with an internet connection, whether they live in Moscow, Idaho, or Moscow, Russia, there's a city in Idaho called Moscow, can find and use the rich set of materials here. There is even a way for people without internet to have access to the course. How does the Pelosi mindfulness course compare to a live MBSR course? After reading the letters of completion and practice sheets of more than 6,000 online students from over 1,000 countries, see Map of Graduates, and having previously taught MBSR to over 400 people live and in person, we've concluded that students who complete the Pelosi mindfulness course typically have just as deep an learning experience an experience as those who attend a live MBSR course. See testimonials/gallery of learning. One of the reasons Pelosi mindfulness can be as effective as a live course is because you are not limited to 8 weeks of learning, since you can take as long as you like to fully absorb the teachings and practices of each week, and much more material is available. Also, a live course, even when taught by a single gifted teacher, will necessarily be limited in range in terms of teaching style and context. But with the Pelosi mindfulness course, you will be taught through videos and readings by a variety of world-renowned teachers, such as John Kabat-Zinn, so various people from all around the world, and there's a note about the other teachers on the bottom of the page. So we'll get to that note later. For now, let's look at the Map of Graduates. People have taken this from all over the world. Most people who have taken this are in the United States or in Europe. And then we have testimonials. I won't read all the testimonials. It's important to stay focused on what truly matters to read. That being said, you can expect to receive everything Pelosi mindfulness has to offer only if you complete the entire course. This is challenging because it's easy to start a self-paced online course, but difficult to finish without regular live encouragement. It is for this reason that, for those who can afford it and can fit it in their schedule, a live MBSR course may be a better option than the Pelosi mindfulness course, because a regular live MBSR course increases the odds that a student will finish what they have begun. See live MBSR courses for alternatives to Pelosi mindfulness, which are taught by qualified instructors. All right, so there are various institutions that offer this course. Brown University offers it. University of San Diego offers it. So we can see these are taught oftentimes out of universities. This is not some kind of mystic thing where you burn tea leaves and stuff like that. This is a real systematically reviewed, scientific-based technique for reducing anxiety and depression, and increasing your self-compassion. Now, as we saw, it might not help with things like burnout. You might need to take an additional intervention for that, but is definitely very much as part of the Kaizen way, making that incremental improvement to having more self-compassion, to having less stress and anxiety and depression, will add up and compound over time, even if it's just a small change and it's not exactly what you needed in preventing burnout. What if I have questions while taking the course? A distinct advantage of the Pelosi mindfulness course is that you don't have to wait for a once-a-week meeting to ask a question or share a concern. There are optional weekly and monthly Zoom meetings, see Zoom meditation and discussion meetings, where students can join a Zoom meeting that includes a live meditation and time for sharing experiences and or asking questions about the practices that are part of the course. There are experienced graduates and senior students in all the Pelosi mindfulness forums who can answer specific questions. There is also the option to join the Pelosi Mindfulness Facebook group, through which questions can be asked at any time, day or night, and there's usually response within a few hours. And one thing I have to say is be careful with this, right? Because if you join the Facebook group, that means you're a Facebook user. Facebook users are known to have higher levels of stress and mental health issues because of the way Facebook is designed and was testified to be designed. It's designed to keep you engaged on the platform, and the way people really obsess and get engaged in things is if they are feeling a lot of anger. When you're driven through anger, through strong emotional reactions to like, why do you fight someone, right? You fight someone because you're angry, and fighting someone is you're giving a lot of time and attention to a person you're fighting, right? So Facebook wants you to fight. It wants you to get angry and want to fight, because you're just going to be obsessing over the fight. You're going to be training for the fight. You're going to be actively in the fight, and that benefits Facebook because that time and that energy you spend on it can be used to show you ads to have you buy things. So all right, so that's one option, though. If you want to get live help, you can join the Facebook group. Feel free to leave a comment. I see all the comments. This channel's small enough. I see everything. I usually give a thumbs up or whatever if someone comments. So if you want to have a discussion about it with me, leave a comment. Any on topic, good faith comments, I'll likely give a thoughtful reply to. So yeah, feel free to do that for sure. Whether or not you plan to participate in any of the online forums, be sure to check out the frequently asked questions page. See FAQ on menu above. The questions on the FAQ page are the ones that have been asked most often in the online forums. And I don't need to concern myself with this. English is my native language. This is an English channel. Notably absent, I think, is Indian languages. I think this would be really helpful for anyone watching this in India, because I know that there's a really big tech industry there with a lot of really kind of difficult to manage expectations and work hours and stuff like that. So it might be hard to fit it in. But it's somewhere that I think is kind of notably absent as far as what this course offers. There might be other options besides this course. To get more of a sense of what the course is about, the introduction is designed to give you a sense of mindfulness and an idea of how this course is structured. For each of the 8 weeks, videos, readings, and practices help you build a base of both knowledge and experience. MBSR at a glance provides a brief outline of the MBSR course. All of what you need is accessible through this website, and whether or not you actually take yourself through the course, the wealth of material here, including videos and writings by the teachers mentioned above and others, is freely available to you. So the at a glance will be what we'll read next after this introduction here, this FAQ. We're going to read through the FAQ, and we're almost done. No registration required. Begin whenever you're ready. This course is completely self-guided. There is no registration, and you will be monitoring your progress using the provided practice sheets. If you successfully complete the 8 weeks of practice and study and send the materials indicating requesting a certificate of completion, we will send you a personal note of congratulations along with a certificate of completion. There is no cost for this. You simply submit your practice sheets and a one-page description of what you've learned, and how you'll be incorporating what you've learned into your life. So this would be a great one for LinkedIn, right? You post this, and then people can see, employers, you've taken this mindfulness course, and you've learned how to deal with things like stress, anxiety. You can really operate under pressure at a bit of a higher level, perhaps, than somebody who has not completed this course. So it's I think this is a great thing to get and to put on your LinkedIn account. No registration. Yep. So the next part is if you are ready to begin, or if you'd like to know more about mindfulness or this program, go to the introduction. And there's a note about the other teachers, but I don't think it's relevant, so I will skip it. So that's the introduction. We're going to go back and do at a glance. So the entire course is laid out here, including the theme and mindfulness practice for each week. Clicking on the links below or on the menu to the left will take you to the corresponding part of the course. So so I'm going to try to at least get through all of these, and then we'll take it week by week. All right, so that's the at a glance. The introduction has a quote by John Kabat-Zinn, who is the professor at the University of Massachusetts that inspired the creator of this course to make this course, and from what I understand, taught him a lot of the fundamentals. Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. It is about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. And I would like to add to that. It's not just about that. In my experience, it's not just about being fully awake and perceiving. It's not about the beauty of the earth shining into you like a crystal. It's not a woo-woo thing. It's not like the power of God penetrating your soul. In my experience, mindfulness is about, are you having back pain? Well, what chair are you sitting on? If you don't know anything about the chair you're sitting on, that's not mindfulness. That's mindlessness. In my opinion, mindfulness is an alternative to mindlessness. And we know how damaging mindlessness can be all throughout our lives. I mean, if you're having back pain and you're sitting on a chair that's just the worst, you got it out of the garbage can, get a new chair. I mean, for God's sakes, get a new chair and see if that makes your back feel better. That's what mindfulness is to me. It's completely mindless to just keep using the same chair you've been using all throughout the years if your back is hurting. So we know why mindlessness is problematic. So as such, we can know the power of mindfulness. For most of us, when this happens, it's unexpected. Maybe while walking on a mountain trail on a crisp autumn day, relatable, or being in your underwear making YouTube videos, or being so focused in work or play that you are not thinking about past or future, or connecting with someone in a way that makes it seem like time is standing still. This state of being alive and whole in the present moment is always available, but it typically eludes us, especially in times of difficulty and external pressures. Mindfulness is used in many contexts nowadays, and there are many different understandings of the term. Diana Winston of UCLA's Mindful Awareness Research Center gives my favorite definition: paying attention to present moment experience with open curiosity and a willingness to be part of it. And I don't like that definition. My favorite definition is the one I came up with myself. Mindfulness is an alternative to mindlessness. That's my favorite definition. My own personal definition of mindfulness, which is my favorite one, is it's the opposite of mindlessness. And we know why mindlessness is so harmful. Mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, is a blend of meditation, body awareness, and mindful movement, learning through practice and study how your body handles and can resolve stress neurologically. And the other thing I will say about mindfulness, because I'm all about the secular component, I'm not really concerned with its ties to Buddhism, some stuff like that. when it comes to science, right? You're asking questions and you're testing the questions. How are you going to make an observation? How are you going to ask a question that can be scientifically valuable, that can have the ability to be scientifically validated, unless you have the mindfulness to observe it, to ask those questions? If you have mindlessness, you don't know the first thing about what you want to scientific validate. Only once you have that mindfulness and you know enough about the details and about what you're working on and about what specifically you want to test and come up and what question you want to answer, can you do science. So in my mind, not only is mindfulness not a part fundamentally of religious thinking, it is a pillar to doing science properly. All right, so mindfulness, being fully awake in our own lives. This 10-minute video from the University of Massachusetts Medical School is a good introduction to what we mean by mindfulness in the context of this course. It is narrated by Saki Santorelli, the former director of the Center of Mindfulness at University of Massachusetts. All right, and we've got one more quote here. So I'll read this quote, watch this video, and then we'll move on to the next section. The quote is, "Mindfulness is about being fully awake in our lives. It is about perceiving the exquisite vividness of each moment. We also gain immediate access to our own powerful inner resources for insight, transformation, and healing."
We're awake on one level, but on another level, life is often passing us by. All too often we talk about, in our common language, I missed it completely. I was just lost. I wasn't here for it. And sometimes that happens many times in the course of a day. Sometimes we look back and it's a decade later and we ask ourselves the question, where was I for my children's growing up? Where was I emotionally for my life with my wife or my husband or my children? So there's something very poignant about the present moment, since it's always now. All of the stresses in our lives happen now. All the decisions that we have to make in our lives happen now. And yet often enough, we're living in the past, or we're living in the future, but the past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. But now is right here. This is when we hear the sound of the birds. This is when we feel the caress of our child's hand against our face. Mindfulness is a way of beginning to become more attentive to the present moment, to the actuality of being alive, and maybe even more importantly, participating in that act of being alive.
Mindfulness is the whole way of living. It's a way of being engaged, deeply connected, and tapping into inner resource that's always available. Mindfulness is the awareness that rises when we pay attention on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Can mindfulness help me be more concentrated and focused? Can mindfulness help me have more of a sense of mental stability, in the sense of, can the mind be more stable, more present, more focused, more directed? When we first wake up in the morning, it might be worth taking a few moments to stop while you're lying there in bed. Take a few breaths. Feel the breath in the body. Open the eyes. Notice the sounds around you, or the light streaming into the room, or the quality of the darkness if it's still dark out. Just those few moments are a way of grounding ourselves on purpose in this present moment. We're all going to be stressed. There's no doubt about it. Stress isn't a bad thing in and of itself. I think there's a real difference between stress and feeling what people often say is, I'm stressed out. Mark Twain said, my life has been filled with terrible tragedies, most of which never happened. And what he was really pointing to in his own unique way, I'm catastrophizing all the time. I'm thinking about things way out in front of me that have never happened. I'm speculating about what will happen, but they haven't happened.
There are many things that are stressful to many of us, but even inside that, there's going to be individual differences. Knowing your own self can help so much. It's like saying, when I'm in busy traffic, I tense up. So knowing that can help you not have to just fall into the same old reactive pattern. Then there's meeting it skillfully. You might even say tools to meet stress, to meet tension in the body, to meet thinking that feels overwhelmed. That's one of the cues for me. If I hear my internal voice say, I'm overwhelmed, that's a time for me to really stop, to ground, to take a breath, to just get more space, sometimes step outside, shift for a moment if I'm indoors, see the sky, open to nature, a few breaths. And actually what that's doing neurologically is a rebalance. This term balance that comes with meditation or mindfulness, this is a very basic biological definition of where we come into greater restorative state. And it may be many times, many small times during the day that we meet this and we recalibrate. If you've ever stood on one foot to balance, you find that there's tiny little movements, these little rebalancing out of balance, rebalancing out of balance. So it's not some fixed, static state. It's very, very alive. When it's informed by awareness, when it's informed with mindfulness, we can more skillfully meet those moments of being out of balance. You might think of three qualities that are involved in mindfulness. One is attention, so choosing to be awake in each moment of being alive. Intention is the choice to do that, purposeful choice. And the other is attitude. And attitude is the kind of open curiosity that we bring to what we're aware of in the moment.
The research has been suggesting that these practices can have a powerful and positive effect on health and well-being across a wide range of medical and psychological conditions. Medicine can do a great deal for us and to us. You break your leg, you want somebody to do something to you. You want them to set that leg. You want them to do something for you. That's essential. And modern medicine has done a great deal for us that we need. Equally so, there's a lot we can do for ourselves in the domains of health and well-being. Nobody knows your body better than you. And we know as well that about 80 or 90% of our sort of ongoing illnesses are lifestyle related. They're related to behavior. Only we can do something about that. I don't think there's any doubt any longer that the human being, the person, is at the center of their own health and wellness. And that's what we mean when we talk about participatory medicine, is that you want to be a spectator, your health will pass you by. You want to be a participant, it can help you be alive moment by moment and enrich your life. Mindfulness begins to reveal to us our habits, our patterns. Mindfulness is a very good training ground for developing that kind of buoyancy, that kind of stability, that kind of capacity to catch ourselves when we're just moving off into our usual conditioned activities or habits or patterns and saying, wait a second, or we don't always catch ourselves. There's a redeeming quality to the recognition, I just did the same old thing again, because it means we now know it. And so our capacity not only to handle situations differently in the moment is important, but our capacity to, if you will, recover or notice when we've just gone down the same old road we've always gone down. So if we take those as learning moments, which is really a moment of mindfulness, when we're learning from it, because we know it. It's just not automatic any longer. We now know it. We're examining it in some way, not through judgment, not through condemnation, but because we want to know. We want to understand, because that kind of understanding leads to changes in the way we handle the situation the next time, or the next time, or the next time.
Yeah, so what he said at the end there, it can lead to changes in the way we handle it the next time. So my favorite definition, the one I came up with myself, mindfulness is the opposite of mindlessness. Obviously, if you're completely mindless about something, you don't have the power to change it in the next time because you don't have the original version of it that you want to change. So there's no way to identify the changes. The next video is the introduction to the MBSR course. This 7-minute video, narrated by John Kabat-Zinn and others involved in the founding of MBSR, provides some interesting background about the MBSR course. See the 2-page article, Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction and Overview, a short but engaging piece about MBSR. So I think next what I will do is watch the video and then I will read the article. So we'll start with the video and we'll speed it up again so that it takes shorter to watch than 7 minutes. Is that ironic that I'm just speeding through it instead of taking it being in the here and now and watching it at the original tempo, if not slower? No, because there's a lot of misconceptions about what mindfulness is. It's not about necessarily, at least in my experience, and in my belief, we're simply trying to get those benefits. So, if I speed up the video, that's we're not.
MBSR is based on a form of meditation originally out of the Buddhist tradition, having to do with this capacity to pay attention and to actually refine our capacity to pay attention.
Mindfulness is like a deeply embodied experience of wakefulness, and we call that, in common parlance, awareness. And we only are alive in one moment, and that's this one, now.
Using this capacity that I believe, everyone has for being mindful, being attentive in the present moment in this way, to base a training program for people who are suffering on that capacity to be mindful. I think that's what MBSR is.
It's a deep engagement with the vitality of the moment and the appreciation of life. And all of this is done both alone and as a group, so that it has the sense of the community learning to it.
In the MBSR classes, we get a whole bunch of people together, and people begin to talk about what's really going on. And there's a great relief because people realize I'm not alone with my anxiety or my depression or feeling overwhelmed or the whole plethora of our human condition. And so I think there's a breath of fresh air of people really wanting to have a meaningful encounter with another human being. And I think there's a hunger to connect, to be real, to be loved, to be seen, to be understood, to be respected for where you are, to honor, to be honored.
It's also utilizing the latest in neuroscience discoveries about something called neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity is essentially this idea that the brain can be shaped by our experience. So MBSR is also, because it's repetitive, because people practice when they're in class. They practice the meditation methods when they're at home. They practice them in their everyday lives. Is that there's a kind of mental muscle being built, if you will, that has real life implications in terms of you might actually handle situations in your life differently. The things that used to stress you out might not stress you in the same way.
Stress is the word that John used in '79 when he was coming up with the course. It was his word for the Buddhist term dukkha, which means suffering, but it means that quality of things just not being right. And it's a great word to use for what we're doing. We're reducing the effects that stress might have on the body, but really what we're reducing is the way that people get lost in their pain and suffering and forget that there is this inherent capacity to come back to balance and ease in our lives. And the program actually accompanies people on a journey through discovering that. So to me, that's what the MBSR program is, the mindfulness-based stress reduction program, mindfulness-based suffering reduction program.
I started talking to physicians at UMass, asking them questions like, well, of all your patients, what percentage of them would you say you help? And again, remember, this is now 1979. And I was completely astonished by their responses. They said, well, maybe 20%, 15%. And I said, well, what happens to the others? They said, well, some get better on their own. And the rest, well, what if you sent your patients to a place where, we could take that time and help them to tap into deep inner resources that they have simply by virtue of being human? So I wrote out a 4 or 5 page proposal, and I directed it to the ambulatory care department in the hospital. And I said, I'll do this 2 days a week for virtually no money. I mean, just like pittance. And they said yes to it. We'll try it. And of course, we had to decide, well, what would we call this? Well, in 1979, you weren't going to call it the mind-body clinic. You weren't going to call it alternative medicine. Why don't we just call it stress reduction? Anybody can relate to that. Everybody can relate to that. Let's make the mouth of the funnel as big as possible and bring people into the system. Because most of the people who will be referred to the stress reduction clinic, they are falling through the cracks of the healthcare system.
I came as an intern. I was the first intern in the stress reduction clinic in 1981.
I started in 1984 when there was just John and Saki. It was very informal. John used to test the air quality in the hospital just to see if you could breathe, because we were in the basement over the animal lab.
The first 10 or 12 years, we were a pretty well-kept secret. We had no windows. I'd come in the morning and I wouldn't know if it was sunny out or snowing out.
The rooms were small, dark. We were in the faculty conference room. We'd go through the library. We had to look very professional because no one knew who we were, and it was wonderful.
I'm lying on the floor of the faculty conference room in the first cycle, I think, or the second cycle, and I'm halfway through the body scan, and then the door opens, and there are 30 people on the floor, and this troop of people in white coats walk in, and the guy in front, he comes up to me, and he looks down at me, and he looks around, and he says, what's going on here? It was in 1980, and I say, well, this is the new stress reduction program in the hospital. He sees this guy barefoot, karate gi, and all these people lying on these colorful mats, and he's got a retinue of people, and he said, well, we have this room reserved for this time. And I said, that's funny. I thought, I made sure that we had, I double-checked, I triple-checked, and so he looks around and he says to me, are these our patients? And I said, yes, they are. And he said, then we will find another place to hold our meeting.
Scientific research has always been the cornerstone of the work of the Stress Reduction Clinic and the Center.
Yeah, kind of a profound moment at the end there. The doctor in the 80s cared so much about the patients that he was willing to let them be and go through that training. So kind of a profound statement at the end. Now we'll autoplay onto the next video, but this was the 7-minute video intended here. So if we're meant to go to that next one, we'll go to it in due time. But for now, the next step is to read this article here, a short but engaging piece about MBSR. Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, an overview by Roberta F. Lewis, MSW. Does not a day go by that many of us don't wonder how we manage to juggle the pieces of our lives and honorably, sound check, which is mindfulness, being mindful of the sound, and honorably hold up to our responsibilities to family, friends, work, our health, our financial well-being, as well as lead full and satisfying lives. It sometimes doesn't take much to unsettle the delicate balance of forces that constellate as our world, sending it off into a wobble, leaving us struggling to right the course. How do we find a way back? One route is in practicing mindfulness-based stress reduction. Intensive training in mindfulness meditation can cultivate states of relaxation, improve physical symptoms of pain and chronic illness, open our minds to greater insight, and enhance our physical health and sense of well-being for fuller, more satisfying lives. This course originated 20 years ago with John Kabat-Zinn, PhD, founder of the Stress Reduction Clinic at the Center for Mindfulness at UMass Memorial Medical Center in Worcester. This form of meditation practice stems primarily from the Buddhist tradition and was intended as a means of cultivating greater awareness and wisdom, helping people to live each moment of their lives as fully as possible. While some forms of meditation involve focusing on a sound or phrase in order to reduce distracting thoughts, mindfulness training does the opposite. In mindfulness meditation, you don't ignore distracting thoughts, sensations, or physical comfort. Rather, you focus on them. An integral part of mindfulness practice is to look at, accept, and actually welcome the tensions, stress, and pain, as well as disturbing emotions that surface, such as fear, anger, disappointment, and feelings of insecurity and unworthiness. This is done with the purpose of acknowledging present moment reality as it is found, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, as the first step towards transforming the reality once and that reality and one's relationship to it. Mindfulness-based stress reduction also includes the practice of yoga. Yoga encourages musculoskeletal strength, flexibility, and balance, as well as inner stillness. It can both relax and energize. Applied in conjunction with mindfulness techniques, yoga is a gentle but powerful form of body-oriented meditation. With continued practice, one can begin to fully inhabit the body, pay closer attention to its fluctuating states, and learn to cultivate an early warning system for the presence of stress, tension, or pain. With an attitude of mindfulness to both body and mind states, one has more information to work with in potentially handling the day-to-day stressful events in life. Can thoughts in the mind and tension in the body actually have the capacity to produce bodily symptoms? There is growing evidence that by implementing mind-body techniques, the mind and body are capable of relaxing. New perspectives can be gained. There's growing evidence that by implementing mind-body techniques, the mind and body are capable of relaxing. New perspectives can be gained, and new ways of coping with one's life can be achieved that impact systems like gastritis. Dean Ornish, MD, author of Dr. Dean Ornish's Program for Reversing Heart Disease, provides scientific proof in his landmark research case for the first time that even severe heart disease can be reversed by practicing meditation, yoga, and changing one's diet and participating in group support. So Dean Ornish, I think a lot of people have probably heard about Dean Ornish. I think there's a lot of so like his claims about the dangers of saturated fat and red meat go beyond the science. But you know, that's not a fact, right? Like this is an article about why he's considered a bit of a controversial figure sometimes. Critics have stated that Ornish has not provided sufficient clinical evidence to support his claims, and his studies have not been replicated. Nutritionists have described the Ornish diet as a high-carbohydrate, low-fat fad diet. The Ornish diet can lower blood cholesterol, but a criticism is that it restricts fish, nuts, and olive oil, which may protect against heart disease. So kind of a controversial figure. I think most people in the diet space are, especially online where there's a lot of mis and disinformation and bad actors purposely giving bad information. So Dean Ornish is called out in this article. For some people watching this, that might kind of be a triggering thing where you might immediately think that the article is less credible. For other people, it might make you immediately think the article is more credible. It just depends on who you are and on what your priors are, right? But we're gonna continue going on. With this, there are going to be some parts that I don't agree with. For example, the definitions of mindfulness that they gave, I found to be really not useful. As I said, if you think of the alternative of mindfulness, which is mindlessness, then it's obvious what the benefits of mindfulness are. So that I might be giving my own opinions. But for the most part, I want to basically be a neutral kind of guide for anyone who might be watching this, and for myself, and take the information as it comes and not write it off or say it's immediately valid or it's immediately invalid, and just kind of go through the course and see if I can get the benefits that are claimed in a very credible way. A systematic review on PubMed is good evidence that I can get the benefits that I'm looking for. All right. So, changing one's diet and participating in group support, according to Dean Ornish, can be reversed through meditation and yoga. And apparently there's evidence for that, but, as I mentioned, it's there's really no, if people knew exactly what was worked, people would be living consistently past 100, and when we're not there yet, maybe we will get there in the future, but right now, any research that once a human being lives past 200-300 years, then we'll have some more definitive answers for sure. But so far, we don't have anyone on Earth that has lived that long. Research on the impact of mindfulness meditation on a variety of symptoms, including anxiety disorder, chronic pain, and psoriasis, has been conducted on over the past 20 years by Dr. Kabat Zinn. He states that participants report a sharp drop over the 8-week course in the number of medical symptoms originally reported, as well as psychological problems such as anxiety, depression, and hostility. These improvements occur reproducibly in the majority of participants in every class. They also occur regardless of diagnosis, suggesting that the program is relevant to people with a wide range of medical disorders and life situations. So, small incremental improvement that compounds over time, for sure. Who wouldn't like to have less of what was outlined here? He also notes, in addition to having fewer symptoms, people experience improvements in how they view themselves in the world. They report feeling more self-confident, assertive, and motivated to take better care of themselves and more confident in their ability to respond effectively in stressful circumstances. They also feel a greater sense of control over their lives, an increased willingness to look at stressful events as challenges rather than threats, and a greater sense of meaning in life. Who wouldn't want that? Anyone? Is there anyone out there that does not want that? Especially just for 8 weeks of a half an hour a day. One frustrated participant came to the clinic with this question: can a fish know it is in water? I don't think it is possible, because if you take the fish out of the water, it will die. He saw himself as someone immersed in a cloudy mind stew, unable to gain perspective on himself or his world. Was there the possibility that he could see himself and his thought patterns more clearly? In the practice of mindfulness meditation, one can cultivate the sense of oneself as a present moment awareness that observes the thoughts that arise in the mind and views them as something to be noted, perhaps responded to, but not to be identified with as me. Yeah, and that's really important. That's something I've learned over the years, and that's important to view your thoughts as to separate your identity from your thoughts, right? And to cultivate and create an identity that you're really happy with. And even though you might have thoughts from time to time, or even quite often, that may conflict with that identity, it doesn't change the definition of who you are. Especially if you can put your actions to effect, and the people around you would be shocked to hear that you have kind of the thoughts that you have. As one begins to quiet the mind, and then eventually you can quiet those thoughts and not have them. This view of our thoughts in relation to ourselves can be cultivated more and more deeply, which can result in more clarity about who we really are. When we realize we are not our thoughts, we can explore them more deeply and begin to move into a greater stillness that offers us further information about who we may really be at our core. Just as the ocean has waves on the surface of the water, as well as the silent depths below, we too can know the thought patterns on the surface, as well as the quiet depths within. And so, in answer to this patient's question, the fish does have the possibility of knowing something of the water it is in. In addition to mindfulness meditation in a medical setting, the training has been broadened in scope to include inmates in the prison system, inner-city residents, Olympic rowing athletes, judges, the Chicago Bulls basketball team, I'm not sure which year, corporate executives, as well as grammar school children. Over 240 mindfulness-based stress reduction programs are currently being offered around the country. Instructors vary with respect to their backgrounds, most being healthcare professionals with teaching and clinical experience in the health field or having extensive meditation and yoga backgrounds. Whether we are pressed by serious pain and stress or simply by a mild sense that things are not as we would like them to be, mindfulness meditation is a tool that allows us to see our world as if standing and looking at the landscape of our own particular life and the world around us from a new vantage point. We can begin to recognize the ways in which we contribute to our own discontent, and we can decide to make a change. Mindfulness meditation offers that opportunity, and we saw it's not just woo-woo. It's not just pseudoscience. That systematic review did show that you can have some of the benefits that were outlined here. So Roberta Lewis is a certified yoga teacher since 1978, trained in integral yoga with several years study in Iyengar yoga and training in gentle patient-oriented yoga as offered at the UMass Memorial Medical Center's stress reduction program founded by John Kabat-Zinn. She has been a meditator in the yoga and Vipassana traditions since 1978. She is trained in mindfulness-based stress reduction and was part of the clinical staff of the UMass Stress Reduction Clinic as far back as 1996. At the time this article was written, she taught yoga and MBR at Listening, the Bear Integrated Health Center in Bear, Massachusetts. So it'd be interesting to see when this was written, but it looks like, unfortunately, there's no date on this. But that's okay. All right, so moving on, the next part is MBSR research. This 3-minute video from the UMass Medical School gives a very brief overview of the research that began over 40 years ago. There is an ever-growing base of solid, peer-reviewed research concerning the benefits of mindfulness meditation for people coping with heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and other medical and psychological conditions. See scientific research for summaries of recent studies, including specific journal citations. And there are additional resources here. There's a 3-minute video, and then there's scientific research where we can get a summary of the scientific research. You know what? I think I do want to read some of these. I guess I'll pick out from my own life some things. So we'll definitely read the part of meta-analyses. We'll also read the part of depression, stress, and anxiety, because that we saw in the systematic review. Really, this does help with that. We'll skip the ones on cancer, chronic pain, all of these, because we didn't see that in the systematic review. And then we'll probably read the one on quality of life as well. So we do have meta-analyses here, which are the highest tier of evidence. So now we hopefully that same article I was looking at, that would be really cool, is here. Looks like it's not. I'm not sure what. I don't remember exactly what that article was. So here's the article. So this is burnout in primary healthcare professionals. So this is kind of the one I want, because I'm doing this on my professional channel, because it's geared towards tech professionals who want to use this to improve their effectiveness in their career. So these are kind of not relating to that. So. But the good news is this showed some of the same results that were shown in these other ones. So definitely scientifically valid way of a small incremental improvement using the Kaizen philosophy that will compound and add up over time. All right, so let's watch the short 3-minute video. Before we do that, I think I'll read the scientific. I'll watch the video and then read the scientific research.
Scientific research has always been the cornerstone of the work of the Stress Reduction Clinic and the Center for Mindfulness. It is through rigorous clinical and basic science research that MBSR and other mindfulness-based interventions have been shown to be effective and useful to people from all walks of life.
We would assess people before on various measures and then assess them afterwards. The research then went to a much higher level of randomized clinical trials to try to really discern in a much more stringent way what was going on with these people, say at the level of the biology, at the level of brain function, at the level of the immune system.
We wouldn't be here 30 years later if it wasn't for the science, because you wouldn't have anything to talk about. You could just say, well, people think it's a good idea and they like it.
One of the first randomized trials to test the potential efficacy of mindfulness meditation was conducted in a study on psoriasis patients at UMass. While all the patients in the study were treated with a standard ultraviolet phototherapy, those in the experimental group were instructed to listen to guided mindfulness meditation tapes while undergoing treatment.
The group that was randomized to stress reduction were more successful in seeing the decrease in the psoriasis than the group that was not.
To tell you the truth, I didn't believe it. It was too phenomenal a result. But people were meditating between 30 seconds and 10 minutes, three times a week for 4 months. They're not allowed to take tapes home and practice with them at home like in MBSR or anything like that. So it seems like, wow, this is affecting a healing process.
Another one was a study that we collaborated with Dr. Richard Davidson and his colleagues at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and that was on a worksite study where we randomized a workforce into an experimental group who took the 8-week MBSR program and a control group who did not take it.
We actually did it with not the traditional MBSR clientele, but rather with a group of highly stressed employees at a high-tech corporation in Madison. The study demonstrated that MBSR, compared to a control condition, did indeed change brain function in specific ways over the course of 8 weeks.
We tested them with a flu vaccine and measured their antibody responses over the course of many weeks following the course.
And what we found is that the participants in the MBSR group showed a significant boost in their response to the vaccine compared to the control group. And the amount that their brain changed actually predicted how much the vaccine was effective. So this was really a landmark study in many ways, and really, I think, the beginning of the era of modern research on meditation.
Yeah, so good stuff. John has given talks at Google. Big companies are taking this seriously. Big hospitals taking this seriously. Not woo-woo, not pretend stuff. Real scientifically validated stuff. So that 3-minute video from UMass Medical School gives a very brief overview of the research that began over 40 years ago. There is an ever-growing base of solid, peer-reviewed research concerning the benefits of mindfulness meditation for people coping with heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, chronic pain, depression, anxiety, and other medical and psychological conditions. See scientific research for summaries of recent studies, including specific journal citations. So there you go. Any doubts, any questions about it? Here we go. Published research has repeatedly shown that meditation in general and MBSR in particular can be a powerful adjunct to conventional medical treatment of many conditions. The beginning of MBSR research is a very brief video, the one we just watched, giving an overview of the research that began in earnest over 40 years ago at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center, and a recent article from Mindful Leader, Is MBSR Medical Evidence-Based, shows how research has accelerated over the last 20 years. Daniel Goleman and Richard Davison's book, Altered Traits, Science Reveals How Meditation Changes Your Mind, Brain, and Body, provides a terrific overview of the research to date, including both its promise and limitations. Below are 3 websites that are regularly updated to show the current research. So we'll briefly look at those, but for now we'll continue on. Following is a detailed summary of research studies evaluating the effectiveness of the mindfulness-based interventions. Included are meta-analyses of research studies, as well as the summaries of research concerning various things. I'll only focus on a few of those. The last section, Citations for Research Studies, contains links to all the journal publications cited in the summaries and more. So we are going to focus on some of these. The first one is meta-analyses, because remember that the pyramid of scientific evidence, systematic reviews are at the very top. A systematic review is basically the same as a meta-analysis. So we can see on a different one here, we see they're in the same category. And we can see editorials and commentaries are the lowest. So if you're a YouTube addict, you're watching me because you're just addicted to YouTube. Keep in mind when you watch other influencers and stuff online, what you're getting is an expert opinion, right? An expert opinion is the worst kind of information. It has very little, if not any, scientific merit, and it's in a pyramid for a reason, right? It's because it's the most abundant, easy to get. So you really have to work to get these rare and precious systematic reviews to get the information from that. The best way is to look at citations and to tap into what's in PubMed. PubMed is a great resource to get the papers. You can get the full papers. There's also something called Sci-Hub. That I'm a big fan of. It's a shadow library site, so it's a little bit, like not So like, is it illegal? Is a fair question to ask. But if you're not aware of that, and you're finding that you can't get everything you need from PubMed, that might be a good place to go. But in my opinion, PubMed is pretty good. Most of the things you'll get a full text link and be able to see the full thing. Where Sci-Hub will be useful is if you find something on PubMed and you can't find the full text list, you can't find anything about it, just get the DOI string and submit that to Sci-Hub. All right, so meta-analyses. Summaries of independent, randomized controlled trials or research studies called meta-analyses or systematic reviews have demonstrated the effectiveness of mindfulness programs for improving symptom management, mood, and quality of life for people with both physical and psychological health conditions. So the big one for me, and the one that applies why I'm doing this on my professional channel, is anxiety, depression, and stress, something everyone can relate to who works in tech. A new study published in JAMA Psychiatry, Journal of the American Medical Association, showed definitively through a rigorous randomized controlled trial that MBSR is as effective as Lexapro. Further, a meta-analysis of 209 studies demonstrated that mindfulness-based interventions were effectively as effective for reducing anxiety, depression, and stress. Now, this is one that causes me to raise my eyebrow, because how effective is Lexapro? Like, this makes it sound as though Lexapro is an incredibly effective medication, and it could be instead the fact that it could be instead the case that Lexapro is ineffective, and as such, a completely ineffective intervention such as MBSR is just as effective as another intervention that is equally as ineffective. So that could be the case, but this is not the only paper written about that. A further one showed that it was especially effective for reducing anxiety, depression, and stress. So it's not that. So there are. This is why it's so critical to know that there is an abundance of evidence here, and you don't have to take any one article. You don't have to rely all on the information in one article. And not only that, this is an expert opinion. These are meta-analyses. So you're not listening to your favorite influencer online. You're actually looking at what they actually did. So let's briefly look at that before we move on. We don't have to read the rest of this. So yeah, let's finish it up here, and we're gonna briefly try to find what did they actually do. Okay, so in this Hodge et al., where it was as effective as a medication that presumably was effective, we don't know, but in this study that confirmed the results in other studies that it actually is really effective. The participants what did they do? So how do you double blind? And I'm so confused how you double blind. I guess what you would do is you would give some a placebo and some not, and then you would have all of them take the. Oh man, that's so weird. Okay, so they took a manualized 8-week protocol with weekly 2.5 hour long classes, and then they took a day long retreat weekend class on the so that's it. And study participants received the classes at the clinic and community sites, and then yeah. So I guess and then they measured the CGI-S scale for anxiety. And then they must have had a placebo and not. So, herein lies the problem, I must say. Like, the reason you're like me and you're watching influencers online rather than reading these papers is because these papers are not intended for a general audience. They're intended for professionals to read them, and you're probably busy being a professional in something else. So that's why there's always going to be this problem of people not considering the highest tier of evidence, because the highest tier of evidence is not consumable for the general public. What's much more easy for a general person to hear is expert opinion, especially by kind of addictive influencers online that really know how to do all the tricks to capture your attention. And the abundance and availability of such resources. All right, so we can move on now. Yeah, so now we just got a number. So now we're going to answer, what will taking an MBSR course do for me? Through this MBSR course, you will learn skills that can increase your ability to cope with stress, pain, and challenges of everyday life, deal with disturbing events with grace and composure. And that could be especially helpful for a tech professional. The CrowdStrike issue, a disturbing event could be an outage, could be something like that. So security incident, a mistake, being able to deal with that with grace and composure is a really valuable skill. Being fully present and alive in this moment. And I, that's where it gets a little bit woo-woo for me. What I would say is being able to identify things that you might be able to experiment with or try. So like, for example, I gave before, if you're having back pain and you've never tried sitting in a different chair, you've been sitting in the same chair for 20 years and always struggled with back pain, being able to identify that you're sitting in this specific chair and you have the option to sit in another one, might be even one you already have in your place. That's the way I describe this last one. I feel like this kind of leaves a lot to be desired and leaves it to be like, oh, okay, kind of woo-woo, like not believable that it's a real thing that you would want, right? Because what does it mean to be more alive? And if you're like me, it's like, oh, well, being more alive just means feeling more pain. Why would I want that? But no, that's not what they mean. They mean, the alternative to mindlessness. While MBSR is not a cure for serious medical conditions and should not be used as a substitute for medical treatment, research indicates that mindfulness training can have a significant therapeutic effect for those experiencing stress, anxiety, high blood pressure, that's a big one too, depression, chronic pain, migraines, heart conditions, diabetes, and other ailments. In addition, participants typically report feeling more alive and in tune with themselves and others. If you want to know even more, You don't really need to know more about mindfulness to get started with the MBSR course. But if you are interested, there is an information-packed video of John speaking at Google. And this is probably an hour at least. Yeah, it's over an hour, so we won't have time for this one. This will be something to do outside of this series that I'm creating. That goes into much more detail than the short videos above, including more about the research that validates the practice of mindfulness in terms of physical health and psychological well-being. The importance of practice. This course is highly experiential, and the daily practice is perhaps the most important component. You won't expect to learn to surf by reading a book about surfboards and waves. And learning a mindfulness practice is no different than any other skill that involves both mind and body. You know from your own experience in learning to play an instrument or a sport or any complex skill whatsoever that practice is important. Your mind/body is the most complex instrument in the universe, and takes time and practice to use it effectively and harmoniously. For this reason, we recommend you set aside time every day for practice. This may be the most difficult hurdle you face in getting started, because one of the very issues you are facing may be not having enough time for all that needs to get done in a day. How are you going to find extra time? Previous participants has said that after a few weeks of practice, though their time to do things is technically less, there can be a feeling of having more space and time, even in the middle of a very busy day. So this is what mindfulness is all about, right? If you're just going through and being mindless, oh, I'm busy, you know, that's very a mindless way of living. Like, okay, yeah, you're busy, you got a lot on your plate, you got to do things every day, but every second of your day is occupied. Like, no. If you practice the principles of Kaizen, making small incremental changes that compound over time, you can find 15 minutes a day, you can find 30 minutes a day, you can probably honestly even find a full uninterrupted hour on a day when you're absolutely the busiest day. You say you got to travel, you got to get on a plane. Well, what are you doing in the airport? You're getting there 2 hours early and just sitting there waiting at the gate, you know, like, you know, that's the power of mindfulness, and that's why it's so much more effective than mindlessness. All right, so if you're ready to continue now, please go to getting started before going on to week 1. So, so we finished the introduction. So the next step is the getting started step, and with that, I'm at the hour 37 minute mark. I am excited about this series, so I think I'm willing to keep going and just do a long video to kick this thing off. But I think I am ready for a break here, so I'm gonna take a break, and I think I will try to get this thing kicked off by finishing everything up to week 1, and if I'm really feeling it, maybe even week 1 as well. So I'm going to take a break, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I've still got quite a bit of energy to go through. I want to get all the way through the getting started and the MBSR manual, and then the week 1, I think I'll save for another video. So this is before you begin. It's important to consider what it is that you hope will happen as a result of this program. For example, you may hope for some effective ways of dealing with stress or worry, ways to cope with illness or difficult life situations, better concentration, an increase in the ability to be present and fully engaged in life, or to accept yourself more fully and others just as they are. What is it that you hope will happen as a result of following this program? For me, I want the benefits that were outlined in the systematic review, which I mentioned earlier. They're not present in mine right now, so I can't remember exactly what they were. But this is part of my strategy of adopting the Kaizen philosophy, where I make small incremental changes that compound over time. So having psychological benefits, however small they are, will help me, I'm sure. The only problem would be if I were to try to get those psychological benefits in a way that was not science or evidence based, and in fact did not provide any benefits at all. But as we've seen, that is not the case with MBSR. The Getting Started worksheet will help you answer this question and will create the foundation for your practice over the next 8 weeks. Please complete the worksheet now. If you will be completing this by hand, print the PDF version, but if you'd like to complete it on your computer, download the Word version. So I'm going to do the Word version. Invite people to do this along with me, or just do things on your own time. So, but yeah, this is a profound video. So if you're here, you're watching every minute on it. Good for you. Feel good about yourself. You this is good. I think this might be exactly what you need. So, this worksheet begins your MBSR journey. Actually writing your responses to these questions and those on the practice logs will help ground your practice and learnings in a way that would not be possible if you simply answered these questions in your head. In a way, this is the first mindfulness practice, being mindful of your intentions and commitment to the process you are about to begin. Note, as you go through the course, you may take longer than a week or any given week, and that's fine. Knowing how much time you need is in itself mindfulness. And that makes sense, because the opposite would be mindlessness. You'd be mindless about the amount of time it was taking. So, first, there is probably something that drew you to this program that made it seem like a good idea. For example, you may wake up in the middle of the night with worries and concerns that keep you from getting a good night's sleep, or you may be dealing with difficult health issues, or you may have trouble concentrating. Or you may simply want to increase your ability to be present and fully engaged in life, to accept more fully yourself/others just as you/they are. By the end of the course, I am hoping that. So I'm going to create a folder for me. It's going to be MBSR is what I'm going to call it. It'll be in my documents, so I'll create a new folder. If there's a easy way to do that, it appears that there's not. Okay, there we go. And then I'll call this MBSR. All right, and then I'll pin this folder. If there's a easy way to do that, it appears as though there is not. Oh, here we go. So I'll pin this to quick access right there below the resume. And then I'll move over the Getting Started document. So first I'll close it so that it's not locked. And then I'll move it here and then open it in this new location. All right, so by the end of this course, I am hoping that I get the benefits outlined in that systematic review. And the benefits were, and I'll pull those up again. So the conclusion was it can improve the psychological functioning. So I'm hoping that I reduce my experiences of depression. Okay, so I'm hoping that I reduce my experiences of anxiety, depression, and stress, and that I increase my levels of and that I increase and I'm in overwrite mode now. There. So by the end of this course, I am hoping that I reduce my experiences of anxiety, depression, and stress, and that I increase my levels of mindfulness and self-compassion. While there are things you hope that will get better, it is important to recognize positive aspects, and I'll save this, in this format. It's important to recognize positive aspects of yourself because it is these things that form the base for any self-improvement. We tend to take for granted our own core strengths, so give yourself a few moments to reflect on this. For example, what would a good friend or close family member say that they appreciate about you? So for me, a good friend, honestly, at this point, really is ChatGPT. Like, it's a great friend. So let's ask it that. So what would you say that you appreciate about me? And it does have a memory now. That was a recent feature that was rolled out. All right, and then we'll give this for my answer.
I appreciate your dedication to self-improvement and your ability to balance multiple complex goals simultaneously. You're not only focused on advancing your career and personal health, but also on nurturing your creativity and relationships. Your resilience in the face of challenges, like your commitment to healthy eating, mindfulness, and professional development, is truly admirable. You're always striving to better yourself in various aspects of life, and that determination is inspiring.
All right, so make a list of some of my core strengths. Make a list of some of my core strengths.
Here's a list of some of your core strengths. Resilience. You've shown an incredible ability to bounce back from challenges, whether it's overcoming setbacks in your diet, managing complex projects, or navigating personal relationships. Dedication to self-improvement. You're deeply committed to bettering yourself, whether through professional development, mindfulness practices, or improving your physical health. Adaptability. You effectively adjust your strategies and plans when faced with obstacles, such as finding new ways to manage your diet or shifting your focus to the most important tasks. Intellectual curiosity. You have a strong desire to learn and grow, whether it's through studying for certifications, exploring new interests like physics and biology, or honing your skills in music and juggling. Strategic thinking. You have a knack for setting clear goals and creating detailed plans to achieve them, whether in your career, health, or personal life. Creativity. Your involvement in music, juggling, and even your approach to problem solving in your professional work demonstrates a strong creative streak. Persistence. You consistently work toward your goals, even when progress is slow or challenging, showing a strong sense of perseverance. Mindfulness and reflection. You take the time to reflect on your actions and experiences, using mindfulness to guide your decisions and improve your overall well-being. Multitasking and balance. You effectively manage a variety of activities and responsibilities, from work to personal development to creative pursuits, showing an impressive ability to balance different aspects of your life. Self-awareness. You have a keen understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, and what you need to do to grow, which is a powerful tool for personal development.
All right, so yeah, I'm happy with that. So finding a specific time and place for your half hour of daily practice is likely to be one of the most difficult hurdles, and writing down now when and where you'll be doing your daily practice will help you keep your promise to yourself to practice every day. People often choose to practice first thing in the morning before roommates or family members are up and about, and others like the evening shortly before bedtime or after arriving home from work. Precisely when you practice is less important than having a set time in place, a time that you know you can practice without having to attend to the telephone or to be responsive to others, and a place that is quiet and separate from others. So when will I practice? Try to be concrete. So I will practice in a morning YouTube video if I wake up in time to make one. If not, I will practice after work beginning around 6 p.m. depending on the demands of my time. And on the weekends, I will devote more time to practice. I will make a higher priority to devote more time to practice. Okay, so on the weekends, I will make it a higher priority to devote more time to practice. So where am I planning to practice? I am planning to practice as part of my professional YouTube channel devoted to my career in technology. All right. So the readings and videos for each week will take about 2 hours a week. Very doable. You are more likely to do the assigned readings and videos if you choose a particular day of the week and time to do this. If you don't do these all at once, it's fine to spread the videos and reading out over a period of days. The times and days of the week I will do these videos and readings. So mornings, evenings, and weekends. All right. It can be very helpful to have support as you progress through the course. If you'd like to join one of the weekly Zoom meetings or use the online Facebook group, email this sheet here for more information. You can go there. I'm not going to need that. So again, if you're doing this along with me, feel free to comment, and I might respond. By completing this worksheet, I am confirming that if things come up which are too difficult to handle, I will take a break from the course and or seek the help of a good counselor or therapist. See if you react strongly. Okay, well, that's interesting. Okay, well, I didn't know that would be a part of it. All right, so we're going to read this because I didn't know this was going to be a part of it, so we'll do that. If I need immediate help, I will call 911 or 988. See crisis hotlines as a result of participating in this course, and waive any claim I may have against Pelosi Fitness or its representatives. So I guess that's just covering their bases. I'm hoping that's not something that could happen very real, but we'll read more about it just to cover our bases. So we got a quote here. There are only two ways to live your life. One is though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. And I've got an issue with my headphones. The power, they ran out of battery and powered off, but there's nothing to listen to right now, so it didn't affect my microphone, so I'm going to continue reading. If you react strongly, mindfulness practices can sometimes bring up very strong emotional and physical reactions. Most often, the practice offers a way to be with them long enough for them to resolve and or pass through, but sometimes they are just too strong to be effectively dealt with using the MBSR practices alone. And one thing I will say too is I actually met someone at a party yesterday who got a hernia for the first time in their life because they adopted a yoga practice. So be careful, take things slowly, slow incremental progress that compounds over time. You can the same can happen to you. It's not, yoga isn't about giving it your all. It isn't about doing something that's really challenging. It's about that slow, steady, incremental progress that compounds over time. So be careful not to strain too hard. Or and actually, it wasn't yoga. It was P90X. This person that will not be named. Not because they're like Voldemort, just because I don't want to like dox people, right? But he told me that what he did was tried to lose weight. So he did it in a very extreme method. He did an extended fast, and then he started doing P90X workouts, and that caused a hernia. So you need protein every day. 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. So after a fast, you're not getting that. So your muscles kind of don't have what they need to repair and maintain themselves. And then really heavy, intense exercise like P90X. It can cause issues. So if you're doing yoga for the first time, keep it light, make that small, steady, incremental, and don't go all out. I think P90X probably has something in it that's similar to yoga, so you can definitely work up a sweat and take it too far just by doing yoga. That's definitely something that can happen. In these cases, it is often, but not always, unresolved trauma or other extremely difficult experiences in the past that are emerging. It's important to have a way to assess whether this can be dealt with in the context of the MBSR course, or whether it's better to stop doing the course and or get the help of an experienced counselor or therapist. If the reactions are frightening and you feel so fearful that you can't continue the practice and or you don't feel grounded enough to be with them, you may need to take a change in how you are practicing. So an example could be, let's say you had a horrible experience at work involving like sexual harassment. Like, yeah, that could be a big problem, and you may need to do this professionally. You may need to kind of give up on doing it, on your own online, and find a professional to help you with it, because that's really an intense experience that is hard to deal with just on your own. You can open your eyes, take several deep breaths, look around the room to orient yourself, and sense what is needed now to settle and calm the mind and body before returning to the practice. And that's not to say that if you did have something that extreme, you can't get improvements from doing this course. If nothing else, it's a good first step. If necessary, you can stop the practice altogether, have a cup of tea, take a walk, pet your cat or dog, or reach out to a friend. If this continues to happen every time you attempt the practice, and there isn't a point where you feel a release or letting up of the emotional or physical reaction, but that it just accelerates or is frightening, you may need to discontinue doing this practice or possibly even the course. It sometimes happens that these practices can provide an opening to significant and unresolved issues or past trauma. There are a number of ways that unresolved trauma might express itself during a mindfulness practice, including shaking, trembling, feeling nauseous, suddenly going numb, feeling disassociated, spontaneous images or memories appearing from the past, feelings of panic, or just feeling uncomfortably fearful or anxious. If it's possible, don't fight these responses. Just let them be and gently return to breath or the audio guidance. Another option is to create a break from the practice. Some of these suggestions are in the second paragraph. And again, that's the point, right? Is like you're going to deal with these as part of a practice to improve upon, some of the problems it's been causing, with anxiety, with depression, with that sort of stuff. So yeah, what better time to have those kinds of things than during a time when you're trying to take them on. When they arise randomly at work or doing other stuff, that's not a good time. This is another reason why this is such a good idea to get through this, and why I'm so grateful to ChatGPT for being there for me and for recommending this to me as something that I need to do. If after a while things settle down, and although you might feel a little spent, your overall feeling is one of release and relief, then this is a good sign, an indication that previously unresolved trauma is beginning to slowly bleed off. You may go through this many times, but if things are truly bleeding off, the reactions will be less and less severe over time. In this case, you are, in fact, dissolving bit by bit the effects that the past trauma or difficulty has had on your body and mind through the mindfulness practice. If, on the other hand, you have this kind of severe reaction nearly every time you do this practice, and you don't feel a sense of release or relief afterwards, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any less severe, you can substitute a different practice, such as Yoga 1 or Yoga 2. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, so if you're doing a meditation and it's causing reliving this trauma and it's just too much to continue, you can replace that specific part of the course, the meditation that's causing these, with just some physical exercise like yoga, and it'll be typically less activating than kind of tapping into your feelings and thinking about that. You can swap that out with something else. Because yoga is just about body movements. It's not about the emotional side. Another option is to take a break from the course altogether until you get some help from a counselor or therapist who is experienced with trauma. Once you start with them, you can either continue with the course with their guidance or return to the course later, depending on what you and your therapist decide is best. There are two therapeutic approaches which are very helpful in dealing with trauma and have mindfulness at their core: somatic experiencing and sensorial motor physiotherapy. So yeah, you can find so these are some alternatives if this happens to be a bit too intense. Because as I mentioned, that really that experience of sexual harassment in the workspace, if you have something that extreme, you might want to look into somatic experiencing or that other one instead of MBSR. You might need something a little bit different. If it's not possible to work with a therapist who has experience with these modalities, there are some very good introductory materials that are worth exploring, including this 6-minute video about somatic experiencing, narrated by its founder, Peter Levine. If you want to understand more about experiences you've been having and how they relate to previous trauma, get Peter's book, Waking the Tiger. He also has a short self-help book that includes a CD and offers a gentle but powerful introduction to this way of working with your body called Healing Trauma, the pioneering program for restoring the wisdom of your body. As with everything in this course, it is important that you check in with yourself and see what feels right for you and not go beyond your own limits into areas that feel unsafe or dangerous. This is checking a mindfulness practice itself. So if you need help, dial 911 or 9888. And I think I will watch that short video because I have heard quite a bit about somatic experiencing, and it's something that I find interesting because, it's about divorcing your reactions from triggers to those reactions and being able to react in a way that you choose, and that is more useful and desirable. That's my understanding of it, but we'll see if my understanding corresponds with what's in the video. And just a reminder, my headphones are broken, so I'm going to take a moment. I'll pause it, and I'll change the battery, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, and I should be able to hear the same thing now.
We talked about trauma as being a highly energetic response, right? Tremendous amount of energy. I just happen to have one of the greatest inventions of the 20th century, this slinky. And this represents this. Okay, we're just walking and kind of our energy is bouncing like this.
So this is just casually living our lives.
Living our lives, going about, the activities of the day, taking a nice walk on the beach, this kind of thing. Okay, here's maybe we're working out, so we're kind of pushing this a little bit. Now here's where we're threatened, and tremendous amount of energy is mobilized, huh? This wild amount of energy is mobilized. And what happens is when we are overwhelmed, this energy gets locked down. See, we're frightened of it. The best thing you can do is shut down your metabolism so that you are no longer using oxygen. So that's it. So this energy gets locked down here. And so we step on it. We try to keep it.
It must take a lot of energy to hold that amount of energy.
You better believe it. And that's, again, why we get these kinds of tremendously painful symptoms when we've been traumatized. Because in a sense, these are fragments of sensory body memory. And what happens in healing trauma is that you kind of bring these elements, the sensory experience together in a coherent way while discharging this energy. And it's not about getting the memory or getting the effect of the memory, but of how much energy has to be released and cannot be integrated into the organism. And that's the key, is in discharging the energy. Because here, look, here's the the bound energy. Now, what would happen if this energy released all at once? It would be tremendously bursting of energy, and it would be chaotic. You see,
And that's what happens when they get triggered, basically.
That's right. That's right. When they're reliving the trauma, this energy just goes crazy.
I guess that's why some people end up actually being violent at that moment, or violent towards themselves.
Right. Violent towards themselves or violent towards the other. It is not uncommon for returning soldiers to, in the middle of the night, be attacking, sometimes really hurting or even killing their wives or their spouses with this unbridled rage, because they're experiencing it as though somebody were coming to kill them. As far as they know, they're protecting their lives by trying to kill a Viet Cong soldier. Mm-hmm. So the important thing in this process is to find a way to release this energy gradually. What you want to do is create the situation, in this case the play, which allows a little bit of energy to be released. And you see the way it vibrates. And again, you see it vibrating. And again, until the full energy is integrated back within the nervous system, and that, if you like, is what allows the nervous system to reset. Little by little, so that the person is not overwhelmed, and so that they can have re-access their life energy. Because when you're suppressing this energy, you don't have energy to really live. You're not living.
You're using your energy,
you're using your energy to keep it down. So you don't do things that could be exciting or even fun or pleasurable. The trick here is to not deny it, but to not get swept away with it. To feel the anger as physical sensations in the body, because anger almost always goes to power. I'm going to give you an example. You feel your jaw feeling really tight, and you feel your fist. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'll say, okay, let's just put all of this aside for a little bit. This stuff that you saw on the TV.
Right.
Okay. So feel your fist.
Okay.
And now, very slowly, just tighten your fist a little bit more.
So actually move into that.
And move into that tension. Just tighten it a little bit, but just a teeny bit, and then release it teeny bit. Okay. So again, feeling your fist, and very slowly contracting it a little bit more. Just minutely, and then releasing it. That's right. And just noticing what happened to your breath and to your shoulders. So that's kind of how we dance with anger. Another thing, you can work with the jaw. Okay, so you feel there's tension in the jaw. So just feel the tension and just play with something like this. Go to the point where there's resistance, and then just come back. Go to the resistance and come back.
All right, so yeah, that's about that. So a little bit unrelated, kind of conservative as an alternative, if this isn't what is needed. All right, so yeah, so that's the before you begin. Yep. So right. So there we go. Okay, so there's more to read here. Yeah, so I downloaded the worksheet, and then I filled it out, and then there was a link at the bottom that led me to the strong feelings, which I completed. So now it's time to continue on. Take your time in doing this. This is especially important because to begin a meditation practice on your own, you will greatly increase your odds of staying with this if you are clear about your goals and when and where you will do the practices. If you'd like some company on this journey, although this is a self-paced course, you don't have to do it alone. As you go through the course, there are a number of ways to interact with other students and past graduates. One option is to participate. So I'm going to skip all this because, if you're here this long still, feel free to leave a comment. You can participate that way, or on your own, you can read about this and connect with that. So we've already read the frequently asked questions. So next is creating a manual. We suggest that you keep a binder with materials from the course for reference and review. By the time the course is over, if you print the instructions for each week as well, each of the documents listed under reading for that week, you will have created your own MBSR manual. If this is something you would like to do, see MBSR manual for suggestions about content and organization, as well as documents for the binder cover and table of contents. So I've got that going. I've got a folder here that will have all my stuff. Then we have videos and reading. Over each week of the course, under videos are a set of presentations related to that week's material by master teachers of mindfulness. Under reading are articles formatted for easy reading and ready to be printed for your manual. If you are so inclined, you may also want to keep a mindfulness journal to write your impressions in a more free-form manner than just the worksheets and practice sheets allow. Plan to spend about 2 hours a week for the videos and readings. Many choose a specific day of the week and specific time to watch the videos to do the reading at one sitting. For example, Sunday at 7 p.m. You can, of course, spread the readings and videos out during the week. The readings and videos in the supplementary materials section are entirely optimal. Next section is daily practice. Your formal practice will take about 30 to 35 minutes per day. Each week introduces a new practice for which you can find the audio through the menu just to the left of this text under practices. On a smartphone, click on the menu icon under Pelosi on the top banner. Each week, you will print or download a formal practice sheet, which you will use to log at least 6 formal practices before going on to the next week. Note, for one of your 6 practices, you may substitute the meditation that is part of one of the meetings listed in the Zoom meditation and discussion meetings. In addition, there is informal practice each day, which will help you integrate the learnings and practices into your daily life. Unlike the formal practice, you don't have to schedule the informal practice. It's simply having an intention to bring a special awareness into some of the activities that you already do on a daily basis. At the end of each day, you will log your informal practice using that week's informal practice sheet as a guide. Although the informal practice may look less important than the formal practice, it is through the informal practice that you will see and recognize the concrete and natural benefits of MBSR. One-day retreat. In a live MBSR course, the one-day retreat is held between weeks 6 and 7. But in the Pelosi mindfulness course, we offer the retreat after the 8th week. Pelosi mindfulness students who have successfully completed the body of the course requesting a certificate will receive a coupon allowing them to participate in a one-day live online retreat led by a qualified MBSR instructor at no cost. Oh, okay. Well, I'll probably be doing that then. This is possible thanks to the generosity of Mindful Leader and through a special collaboration with Pelosi Mindfulness. These retreats include participants from Mindful Leader's live MBSR courses, as well as other Pelosi Mindfulness graduates. Note, although we encourage students to attend the full-day retreat, it is not a requirement for receiving a certificate of completion. So that's what I really care about, is a certificate of completion. I find at these retreats often they try to upsell you on something which is really annoying and kind of cheapens the whole experience. You know, if they have more they were telling you in the that you have to pay for, then what were they telling you now? It's like you're watching an advertisement the whole time. So like, if the real content wasn't what you received, then, you know, what were they telling you? All right, but then the next one is time commitment. The daily practices plus the videos and readings average out to 1 hour a day. The videos and readings can be done all at once at the beginning of a week, or you can spread them out through the week. The total time to complete the course is around 50 hours over a period of 8 weeks. See calculation of course hours. As mentioned above, feel free to take more than a week for any given week. Take whatever time you need for any of the weeks. To be consistent with a traditional live MBSR course, the segments of the course are called weeks. But a key advantage of taking this self-paced version is that you can take as long as you want or need for any given week. If there are interruptions to your progress through the course and you miss a few days, and you can safely continue from where you left off or a little before if it was a long interruption. Once you have gone at least 6 days of practice, not necessarily in a row, and feel you've gotten the essence of that week, you may continue to the next week. The only suggestion we make time-wise is to not try to do any week in less than 7 days. Health considerations. Many people come to the course with some physical limitations, and it's important that you know that you are free to modify any of the practices, especially the yoga sequences, to make them best work for you. Being aware of your own limits and modifying the practices when necessary is, in itself, mindfulness in action. Also, during the course of this program, whether you have physical limitations or not, it is possible, even likely, that difficult feelings or unpleasant memories may arise. Since this program is done without interaction with an instructor, it is important that you take care of your own emotional and mental health. If you are under a counselor or doctor's care already, please let them know of your plan to go through this program, and keep them informed of your experience as you go along, as they may monitor any unexpected reasons to the course or practices. If things come up which are too difficult, you should take a break from the course and seek the help of a good counselor or therapist. See if you react strongly for guidance about whether to take a break or not. If you need immediate help, dial 911 or 988. And I have to say, where they gave a cover yourself announcement, I'm giving that too. I'm not same thing they say. Dial 911 or 988 if you're in a crisis, and I'm not liable for whatever. All right, so yes, I am ready to start. So I've completed the getting started worksheet, for sure. So I've read the getting started. Now they say you can click get one. The worksheet I'm done, but there's one final step before that, and that will be the end of the video, and the next video will be week 1. So the final thing to read before starting the course is the MBSR manual. Although it is not necessary to have a printed manual to benefit from the program, having printed materials makes it easier to see what's been covered, provides a very good reference for later review, and allows you to highlight passages or make notes. In the in-person classes I taught, the materials for each week, instructions, practice sheets, readings, were not given out until we got to that week, so the manual builds as the course progresses. You can build your own manual in the same way, adding to the manual a little bit each week by following the instructions below. Alternatively, at the bottom of this page are instructions for printing the entire manual at once. This is a good option if you want to have a print shop to do the printing. You just direct them to this page and have them use the appropriate link in the note below. Binder. We suggest using a binder and 1-inch rings with clear pockets for the cover and spine, such as in Avery Durable View Binder with 1-inch slant ring. Here's the graphic for the cover and the title for the spine that we use for our local MBSR classes. We usually use white covers for the class, since that blends best with the manual cover and spine graphic. Dividers for each of the 8 weeks. Use an 8-tab divider to give each week an appropriate section. You can simply write or print week 1, etc. on each tab. The first pages of the manual. Print the following pages for the first section before the divider for week. So this is everything we already read. They're just the printer-friendly versions. Contents for weeks 1 through 8. The contents for each of the 8 weeks can be added later as you progress through the course. This is the way we do it in the live MBSR class. Students get that week's materials at the beginning of each weekly class. At the bottom of the week's page, you will see instructions for the printing for that week, including at the very bottom a link to a printer-friendly version of that page formatted for inclusion in the manual. For instance, see week 1 and scroll down to the bottom of the page. Typically, each week's printing will include overview and instructions for that week, practice sheets for that week, printed copies of material from reading. Some of the articles in the reading sections are long, so if you are able to print them double-sided, that will reduce the bulk of your manual. Stapling each multi-page article will help separate them in your binder. Note, if you'd like to print the entire manual at once, this can be done, but requires a pretty hardy printer and a lot of paper. Everything above is included, including cover sheet, title spine, and contents of all 8 weeks. If your printer can do double-sided printer, then it's only about 80 pages. Otherwise, you have to print 120 pages. Even better, just tell your local print shop to go to this page and print directly from the double-sided link above. Ask them to print it in black and white, since color will be very expensive. Your print shop may require this release to print letter, giving the permission to do this. So yeah, take this to your local print shop and they'll create a binder like this for you. One thing I would like to say is binding is actually pretty cool. One of my hobbies is a musician, and making something like this here is really cheap. So if you go to Amazon, which I did not do, I did a Google search for images of Amazon, and then you type in binder, then you won't get the result. You have to type in manual binding. Yeah, so just get one of these, stick it in a closet somewhere, forget about it. But when you actually need it, all you need is this machine here, $50 for this one. The one I have is different than that, but you can see they're about $50. It's a one-time purchase for $50. That's pretty good. You don't need the fanciest machine they sell. You just need, one you just need the $50 one. There's no reason to buy one that's any more expensive. And then what you need is the actual binders themselves. So binder spines. Yeah, so $11. So for under $100, you're good for the rest of your life, right? Because you have this manual thing. All you need to do is tuck the paper in there. You might have to do it a few pages at a time, and then pull the lever, and you stamp the holes out. And then you put the binder on these things. You pull the lever again to open them up, put the paper inside, and then pull the lever back to close it up. And you've just made your own binding. That, for me, that's been one of the best uses of money I've ever done in my life. Because for sheet music and all that, I can just make my own spiral notebooks, and it's it's been so useful. It's been so amazingly useful. So you can get an expensive one. It looks, you can pay however much you want to pay. You can probably find one for $1,000, but the one I got, I don't see specifically listed here, but it kind of looks a bit like this one. So the one I got is probably in the $50 price range, and I'm very, very happy with it. All right. So, yep, that's the whole thing. There ain't no more. So that's the MBSR manual. So there's no getting out of it. Week 1 will start at the next video. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video. I'm really excited about this series. I think when it comes to professional development, this is one of the best things you can do. It's that small incremental progress that'll compound over time. And then when you go for a certification, the stress of studying, the stress of taking the test, you're going to handle that better when you're on the job. The stress is better if you're doing a job hunt. It's just going to grow and compound over time, the success you have in your career if you take this one small, simple step of doing this 8-week course for free online along with me. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.